I had no idea you could sing.
A little.
No, that was all in tune.
Really?
Yeah, that was actually like, you can sing. Have you ever recorded?
Actually, you know what? I did a long ass time ago, but I was working on nightly news, and you can't sing and do that. But it was like a smart pop thing. It was like smart pop music. And then Lady Gaga kind of came in and was doing something similar. It was funny.
But did you write, or did you just sing?
I just sang, yeah. Because I was in choir and I really loved harmonizing and all of that.
You clearly can sing. I can tell like that.
Thanks. Shit.
Well, you should sing.
That's the ultimate compliment.
No, but you should record something.
Yeah.
Because your voice is beautiful. That was in tune.
Thanks.
Trust me. I would be the first to go, yeah, she's got all kinds of gifts and talents, but...
Please stop.
Hey gang, it's me. How are you? What's going on? It's been a really nice, relaxing week here in LA. I've actually had a chance to catch my breath and just be. Got to spend some time with my family, with my kids. Got to have lunch with an old friend, and just kind of catch up a little bit. A few days of just perfect weather, hiking with Daisy, doing Pilates. You people, you older people especially, Pilates. I was one of those guys who was like, I'm not gonna do Pilates. It's for girls. And then Daisy made me go with her a couple years ago for the first time, kicked my ass. Best workout I've ever had. So I'm addicted to Pilates. It's just so good for everything, for your balance, for strength training, for, elasticity. It's really, really, really amazing. We have a great trainer who's a young lady who kicks our ass every session. So I highly recommend Pilates. Very, very excited about this week. Not just the show, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute, but I'm back on the road this week for a couple of shows I'm really, really anxious to play. So I'm closing Summerfest. We're headlining the closing night of Summerfest on July 4th in Milwaukee, which is bizarre because that was the first gig I think I ever did back in 1987 when the first single, the album wasn't even out yet, my first album, but the single Don't Mean Nothing was out. And the week that the single came out and was released to rock radio, before it was released to pop radio, I played a little club in LA, mostly just for my friends. And then the next day, my band at that time and I jumped on a plane and we went to Milwaukee where I opened Summerfest. So I was on at like 2:00 in the afternoon in the blazing sun. I got to play for about 25 minutes. And it was such a big deal to play Summerfest, especially my first week out on the road. It was a great gig. So all these years later, 38 years later, geez, we're headlining the closing night of Summerfest in Milwaukee. It's pretty full circle, pretty cool. But even cooler is the night before. The night before, I'll be in Quebec City opening for Rod Stewart. Not really, I mean, I'm opening for Rod Stewart, but technically we're both doing this big festival and I'll be playing with my band right before Rod closes the night. So any of you who follow me, you know I am not only the biggest Rod Stewart fan in the world, but he and I have become friends in the last couple of years. He's so dear to me as a person. I just love this guy. I keep saying it, I'm gonna keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep saying it. For the people who say, never meet your heroes, those people never met Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart is just the coolest on every level. So I'm really looking forward to rocking it out with my band for a couple of nights this week. But I'm also excited about this week's episode of Stories to Tell. My guest was and is Maria Menounos, who came over here to this room, and we had met briefly once or twice in passing. She interviewed me a couple of times over the years, but I was really anxious to talk to her about her health journey. She's had quite significant health scares and circumstances that have left her very inspiring and knowledgeable. And I think it's a really important conversation I was really anxious to have with her. Plus, she's really funny. She's a good hang. We don't align on everything ideologically, as you'll hear. But she's just a really bright, soulful, cool person. And I loved spending this time with her. We ended up talking for a long time about all different kinds of things. So this was one of my favorite episodes. I hope you love it. If you haven't subscribed, do so. And tell all your friends to subscribe and check out our show, Stories to Tell. And for now, I leave you with this, and I hope you enjoy it. My guest on Stories to Tell, Maria Menounos. See you next time. Cheers, Maria.
Cheers, Richard.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you.
It's been
Thanks
a long
for
time
having
since
me.
we've seen each other.
I know.
But I'm thrilled it's under these circumstances.
Thank you. Thanks for the ranch water.
I'm so excited about the ranch water.
Do you
because
like it?
It's really good. It's really refreshing.
The orange wedge actually makes a difference. It kind of gives it a little, just a smidge of softness to it.
Because it's already got lime juice. So you're gonna put a lime wedge in it? That's redundant.
That's so yummy.
That's a good poolside cocktail. I'm
Nice
not
and
really
fresh.
a cocktail guy. I'm a purist. I just love good tequila on the rocks and vodka.
Interesting. Okay.
But that's delicious.
I just
So thanks for
made
that.
a vodka, funny enough.
You know you
really-
made a vodka.
I made a vodka with my neighbor.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, it's really clean and you can drink it straight on the rocks and it's so soft. Like every vodka tastes like Windex.
Yes. Well,
I can't
not
stand
every vodka.
No, liquor sucks.
okay.
It tastes like Windex, all of it.
I
So when you
used to
see me
feel
and I
that.
drink it, I'm like, this is my face.
It used to be like, what?
But now I'm like, oh, this is so good. I like this.
Okay. So what did you do that made it smooth? That made it...
I used all super clean ingredients and it's the lowest alcohol content it can be, but still be considered an alcohol.
Is it
So
a
it's-
grain vodka?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's very smooth. I should have brought it.
You
I
should
didn't
have
even
brought
think.
it.
Yeah.
Well-
Next time.
Yeah. We'll do a dinner with our
Yes.
spouses.
Yes.
And we'll do that. Because Daisy and I love a martini, but we don't put anything in the martini. So we order a martini and we always have to say no vermouth.
I've
And
never
by-
had a martini. What's in it?
Okay, so this is interesting. I mean, ish. I felt the same way about vodka and martinis, which was that I had tried them and I hated them. When I met Daisy 12 years ago, she was a super tequila girl, but she was a real martini girl. And I always loved the look of a martini. And I hated that I hated them. Because I would see James Bond drink and I'd be like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That looks so
It
good.
looks cool.
But I didn't like it. So we were out, we started dating, and I forget what I would order. It would be something stupid. And she would
Like a
she would get a
skinny girl
martini.
margarita. I'm kidding.
Pretty much. It's possible. And so she would order martinis and I'd go, yeah, it looks so good, but I don't like martinis. She goes, how do you order a martini? And so I just have ordered a martini, like a vodka martini. Or she goes, I bet you don't like vermouth. I bet that's the problem. If you get the right vodka and it's super ice cold and you put olives in it or a lemon twist, which is what we do now, I think you might. So she ordered one for me the way she drinks them. And it was a game changer. And now I'm an alcoholic.
I'm dead. That's amazing. Perfect.
No, I mean,
Cheers to that. Let's go.
And having more fun than I've ever had in my life. But yeah, it's like I'm a purist. I love really good. So my favorite vodka is Belvedere, but I like Tito's and I like but I do notice a difference. Some people just, like one of my sons who also is a drinker, he loves cocktails. He just fucking hates the taste of vodka. He hates
It's
it.
the worst. And I've tasted all of them and then I taste ours and I'm like, oh, wow, what a difference.
for
Like
you.
it's smooth and nice.
Do you have a name for it?
No. That's
Are you
the
going to try to
hardest
market
part.
it?
I mean, listen, I want people to try it in my life and see if people like it. And then you never know. It was really just like for us and our friends, and then we see what happens.
But it's so. I think it's on the floor over here. But I mean, I know you probably know quite a few people who have their own line of spirits or something. But you know, Gabriel Macht from Suits, who played Harvey Specter on Suits.
I didn't see it.
Great show. You would love that show. I know him a little bit, and he sent me. He started a whiskey company called Bear Fight, and it's blowing up. It's like they had a Super Bowl commercial for it.
No way.
And he's kind of stepped back from acting. He's kind of semi-retired, and he's just focusing on his whiskey company now.
Wow, it's probably a good idea because
True.
our business is kind of spiraling.
Yeah, a little bit. I have so many questions, and as I was preparing for this, this was really fun for me because a lot of the people I've sat here with, the majority of them were people I know really well, friends of mine. And then there were a few people who I had met here and there. But with you, we've met several times and we've had conversations, professional conversations. But in doing research, I was like, I have so many things that I really am excited to talk to you about. But before we go anywhere, you're the first Greek to sit in this chair so far, which is weird because
we should be having ouzo.
We should actually. I have, I think, an inordinate amount of Greek friends who are your friends.
Oh, no way, who?
So Rita Wilson is a really close friend.
Oh, well, yeah, I actually knew that.
Stamos lives around the corner.
Oh, let's go knock on his door.
We actually should.
We really will. I will.
Stamos is funny because we've only known each other for, I'd say, the last 10 years or something like that. And we've hung out a little bit, but he and I have this really funny, weird relationship, which is, I think that we love each other, but we really don't let the other person know that we like each other.
Oh, so it's like a secret bromance?
It's
like
what?
An underlying bromance?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
We're, like with my guy friends, if I love my friend, I'm very affectionate and I'm very complimentary and John and I just give each other shit. We only insult each other.
Okay, so that means you really like each other then.
Well, I don't know. We really like each other. Let's not get carried away. But it's a funny dynamic because there have been like these little moments where he's actually texted me something recently that was so complimentary. And I went, is there something I don't know? Are you sick? Or like, why are you being nice?
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm sure you're friends with him.
Yeah, we were just at Greek Easter together and our kids were playing. It was cute.
And Nia Vardalos, who I'm sure you know too.
A lot of Greeks, yeah.
Yeah, so I have I have a bunch of Australian friends in my life and I have a bunch of Greek friends.
Yeah.
But you're the first Greek that sat here.
Hey.
So far.
Screw you, Stamos.
Yeah. What I want to know first, and I'm sorry if some of this is retread for you, like when I'm sitting with somebody, but I want to know just personally, how did you go from beauty pageants to how did you even get into TV? Because I don't think you have any family history of show business, right?
No.
Zero.
My parents were immigrants from Greece. We used to clean nightclubs throughout Boston. Funny enough, did you ever play like the Channel or anything in Boston?
No, I played Paradise.
Paradise. What club was that? That was called Paradise?
It was the club when I was first starting out.
Okay.
In fact.
But you had to play somewhere else in Boston too.
Well, I played, but that was when I first started. And then things happened for me so fast that I went from this little club called Paradise.
The Garden.
To the Garden, to Great Woods, which is, I don't know if that's still called Great Woods. Whatever that arena is, the Garden, whatever. Okay. All the bigger venues.
Boston Garden.
The Boston Garden.
Okay.
Wicked.
That's so funny. So we used to clean all the nightclubs around Boston. And
when you say clean them.
Yeah, my parents were the janitors. And so we'd be there at 5 a.m. every day, 365 days a year.
Wow.
7 days a week.
So they had their own company? Or they worked for another company?
It was just my mom and dad. They just would clean. We cleaned the Channel, which was like the biggest hard rock nightclub. So like the B-52s and Roy Orbison and all these people came through there and we would clean them. And so from the time I could hold the broom, my brother and I would be helping because it was the only way we would get out of there. So we'd be there 365 days a year. If we ever wanted to see daylight or friends or family, you got to pick up that broom and start cleaning as fast as you can. And then we would go to other ones and office buildings and just, the whole thing.
Wow.
So we had zero connections to the business. And then my cousin went to high school with my now husband. And at some point, he came out to LA and worked at MTV, was head writer, and came back to Boston to make a movie. At that time, I was doing makeovers at the Chanel counter in Lord and Taylor in Copley Square. And
how old are you now?
I'm 18.
Oh, okay.
And my cousin calls me and he says, hey, that buddy of mine is coming back to make his movie. You should work on it. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to Spain this summer. Had no idea how I was going to get to Spain, but I was going to go to Spain.
When you said work on it, sorry to interrupt you. Work on it meaning do
whatever.
Acting? Or?
No, like PA work, probably.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so at first I had kind of had my mind set on going to Spain and immersing myself in the language because I was taking Spanish. And then I was like, wait a second, make a movie. Yeah, okay. So I started working on the movie, and that was it. Somebody who worked on the movie sent us a message saying that he was working at this place called Channel 1 News in Los Angeles, and they're looking for TV anchors, but it's young kids, like doing the news, almost like a CNN for kids.
Okay.
And Kevin helped me put an audition tape together, and then I ended up getting the job and moving to LA, and from there, that was it. But I did beauty pageants. I did 2 beauty pageants in the interim while I was in high school, and then my first year of college. So those were like stepping stones.
You were Miss Boston? Or?
I was Miss Massachusetts, Teen USA.
Really?
And then...
was it fun?
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, it's like when you have big dreams and that's the most accessible thing you can do. It was like I learned so many things about presentation and organization, all those things that you need to kind of present yourself, properly, and public speaking and things like that. So it was incredible training ground. And,
What were the big dreams at that point? When you say you had big dreams?
I wanted to come to LA, and I wanted to be on TV, and I wanted to be so many things at once.
But when did that start? When I
was 13.
Do you remember what prompted it?
I really loved watching the news. I loved watching Joan London at the time on Good Morning America. But I also loved acting and singing and hosting and all of those things. I wanted to do everything, but that stuff was illegal in my dad's brain. The only thing he would accept was the news because it was serious and it was respectable, and he was so scared of the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. Now I know why.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. And thank you, God, for letting me come unscathed. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it your way. I'm going to go to Emerson College. I'll study broadcast journalism. And then, once I'm 18 and I can maneuver my way into the things I want to do, I'll do the things I want to do. And so I ended up doing everything I wanted to do. I've done a little bit of everything at this point. I
was going to ask you if you feel like your background, your Greek background, your heritage played any kind of role in your choices but it sounds like, and I don't want to answer the question for you, but it sounds like if anything, it would have gone against you pursuing something like that, because like your dad was like, you got to do something reliable. That's you can't make a living at that in show business, and that's crazy people do.
Well, he never thought about it like that. He was just scared of me and LA and all the things that you heard of, all the bad stories of drugs and sex and all this stuff. But funny enough, John Stamos was one of the beacons of light. I'm like, oh, he's Greek and he made it. And I used to watch him on Full House. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And I just kept telling my dad, I was like, Dad, you raised me well. I will be fine. And that was that. And here's the thing. The crazy part is, up until a few years ago, I was like, what was he talking about? Everything is fine. There's nothing going on. And then now we see all the stuff that's been going on.
Really? So it's recent for you? That eye-opening has been kind of recent for you?
Yeah. I'm so excited that I was never a popular kid in school or in this business, because if I was, I might have been exposed to some scary stuff. I'm so grateful.
But if you were 18 when you got the job at Channel 1? It was called
No,
Channel
I
1?
was like 20-ish, 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did a couple years of college.
Yeah.
You come out to LA when you're 20, 21.
And I came with Kevin, so I also had
Oh, okay.
some grounded support. I
You've been
wasn't
with Kevin
single.
since you were
19.
19. Wow. That's crazy. So, okay, well then that is a dynamic that probably, did you ever break up at any point? Okay. So that's a dynamic that makes your story different, I bet. If you were completely single,
Yeah.
it might have
Oh,
been
100%.
yeah, it definitely would have been
You would have fallen into nefarious hands for sure.
well, so
Because there were too many. I just didn't know it.
right. But also Kevin can't be everywhere at all times.
Oh, no.
So
When certain people would invite me to the peninsula, I would always be like, Kevin, you're coming.
right.
I didn't know why. I just didn't want to be alone.
Right.
I was always nervous. And so Kevin would come with me.
That must have started immediately when you came to LA. What was your first job on that TV show? Were you interviewing people, or were you just reporting news?
I was reporting news, interviewing people, and then I went to Entertainment Tonight from there.
How soon?
I'm within a year and a half.
Okay, so my question is, when you get to LA and you start doing that first gig,
Yeah.
are you already immediately thinking, this is cool, but I see myself doing something bigger? I like did the
I've
dreaming.
never plotted anything. I've always said, like, I've always prayed, I'm like, God, I have no idea where I'm supposed to go. Just take me where I'm supposed to go. I'll work hard. I'll be a good girl. I'll make good choices. Just show me the way. I've never plotted anything.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Why?
Because I think a career like yours, with what you have done and the diversity of your career.
Well, that's Kevin, the diversity. So if anybody plotted, in a sense, it's Kevin behind the scenes. He was always into diversification. So he made me do a lot of stuff, like when I had cracked ribs and shattered feet on Dancing with the Stars, and I had committed to wrestling at WrestleMania. He was like, "You're going," and I'm like, "You're supposed to love me. I'm gonna literally shatter in the ring. Are you crazy?" And he's like, "You promised, and you were gonna go, and if you don't go, you're gonna regret it." And he was right. So it was the greatest moment ever.
WWE thing. We have to talk about that, because I need to know where that comes from. But wait,
best.
I'm trying to make a point here, because, and you're making it difficult for me, because I was so sure that you were going to go, like you were going to have a light bulb moment, but you're fighting me back. And I'm sure that Kevin was and is a huge catalyst, but I just have this belief that the people who pursue even that word is tricky right now in this conversation. People who have an idea about something that they want to do, when they have the success that you've had and continue to have, and the longevity that you've had,
Yeah.
I believe that has to come from manifestation of some kind, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
I mean, I'm an incredible manifester for sure.
But you don't think you turned your manifesting attention to your career as much as other things?
No, I mean, I manifested my house.
Okay.
I manifested like my car. Like there were things that I had in my mind that were almost like markers of success. And I manifested what I did for my parents, which is I wanted to give them a better life. Like when Kevin first asked me, like, why do you want to make it so bad? I said, I want to give my parents the life that they never had. And so for me, it was about buying them a house and buying them a car and all of those moments. That was why all this was exciting and worth it to me. I mean, I was also excited to make it, of course. That was like from when I was 13, I wanted to be here and do big things.
Did you want to be famous?
Yeah, I did.
What was it about being famous that appealed to you, do you think? If you can put yourself back in the 13-year-old mind.
I really wanted to be a good role model. And I don't know if that was the pageants that instilled that in me, or if that was already in me, or if it was just a good match. I always wanted to show people that you could make it and be a good girl. Like you didn't have to do all the things that
Right.
people thought you had to do. And yeah, like I had a recent moment at a church function where these girls that I grew up with were now adults with kids. And they were like, you really were such a great role model. And now for our kids, I'm like, oh, I did it. Okay, that was cool. So.
I love that. But I feel like you I just feel like there had to be some fire, whether it was like even to say yes to acting. So when you just did your first acting role, was that Kevin saying you should do this? Or was it you saying, I want to act, and so I'm going to go? Did you get an agent, and did you pursue?
I did have an agent, yeah, and he really believed in me. And so I remember he put me up for Fantastic Four. I think that was like the first kind of big one. But yeah, no, I did. I wanted to do everything. I just didn't know. And because I got that job so quickly, I hadn't even finished college. I was like, okay, we're going here. And then I was doing serious news, and I'm in, the slums of Africa and interviewing the president over here, and I'm at the election, over here. And so I was doing so many cool things. And then when I went to Entertainment Tonight, I was like, whoa, okay, now I'm interviewing celebrities everywhere. And then I started doing little roles like I did in Fantastic Four, One Tree Hill, and that was really fun. And everything just kind of was happening. And I just, Kevin would fight because I also was scared. So when I got the show One Tree Hill, they didn't want to let me do it. And he's, calling the boss. He's like, oh, she's doing it. I was like, and I'm just like, scared in the background.
The bosses of the show that you were contracted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. And the reason I'm relenting on this line of questioning is because you're the only other person I think I've met who legit sort of has this story about their success, and the other one is my wife.
Oh, so she didn't have a plan. See, now I would have thought that she was such a great business strategist because I always looked up to her.
She's become one, and she made some great decisions early in her career, but she's the first to say she's never been ambitious. She accidentally fell into modeling in high school because she was really tall and she loved clothes and fashion, and she met some neighbor needed her to, because she fit the clothes that they were shooting. Some model fell out or something, and because Daisy was the stature that she is physically, they went, can you come over and do this, help this guy out? And that started her modeling career. And then the modeling career got her a job as the weather girl in New Jersey. And it wasn't like she went after anything.
Yeah, I just think sometimes it just works. That it doesn't mean I didn't work my heart off. I worked my balls off. She worked her balls off. But and that's why I would say, God, just show me where I'm supposed to go. I will work harder than everybody and I'll make good choices. So I'll be climbing the ladder and this person's going to make bad choices and then I'll get up higher. That's just how I envisioned it, but I didn't have an end goal. I mean, I wanted a talk show because I loved Oprah. There were things that were in my mind, but I never really planned anything. And my husband will always say, he's like, Maria, if people only knew, they think that you are so ambitious and so, and I am driven in a sense because I have a motor. Adam Carolla's always like, you have a motor. And I'm like, yeah, I have a motor. I like to do things. But he's always like, if they only knew you just want to sit by the pool and hang out with your best friend from childhood and, go to breakfast with your mom and dad.
Do you ever feel when you're, I'm sure you do, but I'm curious about, we're segueing here a bunch, but when I'm considerably older than you, but we've been doing our respective careers for a long time. Mm-hmm. And Daisy and I find that we feel a little torn between the need to just do nothing, because we really have worked so hard to be able to afford to do nothing, and the fear of doing nothing, the fear of just
having it pass by.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you let go of the rope, will there be anything left?
Right. Do you have a sense of that?
There's a smidge of that, I think, because we almost moved to Connecticut. We have a house out there. And I was back there, and then in the winter, it got really isolating because we're like in the middle of the woods. And then I came back here and I was like, oh, sun. Okay. My friends are here. Okay.
Right.
And then I started wondering, because before that I was like fully, okay, let go of the rope. I don't care. And then I was like, yeah, but there are some good things to it. Like I do really enjoy the blessings that come with what we get to do because we have access like nobody has. And so when someone's sick, I have incredible access. If you become irrelevant, I don't know if that access maintains as easily. So I worry about it from that point of view. And so that's the only thing I think about is when you're out, are you fully out? And
Because you can't really be kind of part-time in show business, don't you?
I think you can be. I mean, I feel like I'm as part-time as I can be probably, but
I mean, you feed the beast in that. Well, I want to talk about social media at some point too, but you feed the social media beast. You have your podcast, Heel Squad, right? And that's you and Kevin, or it's just your show?
I mean, Kevin helps me with everything, so yeah.
You provide content and you do all the behind the scenes work necessary to feed that beast, those beasts. So that's not part-time. That's like me saying, well, I don't do a concert every night.
Yeah, but you're still doing them.
I do 80 or 100 shows a year. So, I mean, I'm full in, but there's varying degrees. So I also think it's interesting, the geographic part of what you just talked about. Because I think that if you went to Connecticut, like if you went there and it was bliss and you were like, oh my God, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? And we're going to live in Connecticut. I think that there's probably a better chance that you would have just kind of checked out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's being in this town. It's hard. I think it's hard to be in LA and be out of it while you're watching it whizzing by you every day. Like not just on TV or on social media, but in your face.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant, it's like, oh, and you run into somebody and they're telling you everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
I
got really good at so you just said, what are you doing? Because that's like the biggest thing. Someone will see you out and they're like, so what are you working on?
Yeah.
And they're about to judge you on whether you're important enough to continue to talk to you or if it's time to walk away. And I had to get really, really good at that after brain surgery because I was like, I don't want that to be the reason that I'm important enough for you. So I started, when people ask me, I'm like, nothing really, just, a little of this, a little of that.
That's what Daisy says.
I literally say nothing. And I had to get very comfortable with that because I didn't want that to be, I didn't want to have to live up to that all the time, where it's like you have the laundry list of stuff that you're doing and that makes me valuable or important for you. I didn't want that to be the connection with people. So I had to get really good at that. And it was uncomfortable because I was like used to saying, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, because that's the cycle that we're all in. And yeah, I've gotten pretty good at it. And it's weird because people are so put off by the no answer or the lack of stuff. And then you watch people's behavior. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. A great segue, because this is the stuff that I want to talk to you about the most. I want to talk to you. I want you to share as much about your health journey as you want to. But for me, the really fascinating thing is the aftermath and what that journey has taught you and how you're living differently. So take me through, it really started with the brain tumor, correct?
Yeah.
That was your first health crisis.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there are things that, and that's why I'm so committed to this show and it's such my passion project. There are things before that I should have paid attention to that mainstream medical worlds don't really emphasize enough, I think, which is why I'm sounding the alarms. But it was after brain tumor. In fact, when I was in the hospital bed and I'm, coming out of this crazy haze of craziness, that I just kind of thought to myself, I'm like, oh my God, what have I been doing? I've been a workaholic, going against my grain, against my nature, trying to keep up with everybody, thinking, because I always had this mindset of like, if you can do it, I can do it. Whatever it is, I can do it. And so I would watch people that were doing a million things at once. And I was like, all right, I can do it. I didn't know that they were also probably medicating pretty heavily to be able to do all this shit. And I was like, I have 1 coffee a day.
Right.
But I was like, oh, they need this. I don't really need this. This isn't me. This is just what I get to do. This is fun. And it's provided a life for my family that I'm grateful for. But, oh yeah, this is messed up. And so I started making changes from there. And then,
What were the things that led up to your diagnosis of the brain tumor that you look back and go, oh, that was a sign. Oh, that was a sign.
So funny enough, I just had one of the biggest revelations this week with my naturopath, but my body was rejecting LA from the second I got here. From the second I got here, whether it was not being able to breathe and having severe asthma, crazy rashes. It was very intense from go.
So it was an immediate environmental reaction.
Immediate. But I had no idea. And I was also, my career is taking off. And
right. You didn't have time to think about it.
I didn't have time to think. And nobody ever thinks about their health until they have to, generally.
Plus, you're so young.
Yeah, that's when we take it for granted.
Yeah.
So I think when I was diagnosed, so I should have known stuff was not right. But the Western medicine world, and I love them for the things they're good at, they're not really trained to look at that and to look at that picture and say, wait, what could be going wrong here? So then I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and that's just like, oh, everybody has that.
What is Hashimoto's again?
It's a thyroid condition.
Oh, okay, right.
And they're just like, oh, everybody has it. Okay. Oh, okay, everybody has it. That's the warning sign. Shit's not going well in the system.
Right.
Your autoimmune system is fighting itself. Not good.
Are you generally at this period, feeling not great day in and day out, or is it just bouts of that?
I don't even remember. It was such a tornado. I was
you're
working
you were so
18-hour
busy.
days, 7 days a week, on planes nonstop.
Yeah.
When you're in the tornado, you're in the tornado. You
Yeah.
don't have time to think or anything. I know that I was eating fast food most of my meals just to get by, but I stayed thin, so I didn't notice an issue. I would go to the hospital because I was dehydrated, or I'd have like low nutrients like potassium or whatever because I'm eating shit. And then it was the fertility drugs that either increased the brain tumor that was already there, created it, I don't know. We'll find out someday how not great those drugs are because you're taking synthetic hormones. It didn't feel right to me, but I also had no other choice, and everybody was doing it.
Right.
At the time, I was of that mindset, well, everyone's doing it, they're having healthy babies, it's fine. Doctors say it's fine. I didn't know any better. I'm grateful because I wouldn't have my baby, but I always tell people now, if you're going to do them, get a scan of your body and make sure there's nothing in there that's going to grow, because hormones grow things, which is why my neurosurgeon wouldn't let me get pregnant, because he was afraid it would grow. So then came COVID shots. And right after the COVID shots, I got type 1 diabetes, pancreas cancer, 2 precancerous stomach conditions, pernicious anemia, liver lesions, lung lesion, breast lesion. And my best friend and I both got vaccinated the same day, and we both got cancer the same month.
Oh my God.
We both called each other. I have something I have to share with you. I have something to share with you. We get on the phone. She tells me, I have breast cancer. And I'm like, and she's telling me the whole story. I just waited. And at the end, I'm like, not to one up you, but I got pancreas cancer.
So you believe that your body reacted to the vaccine in that way?
I definitely. There's no other explanation other than that.
But doesn't that add up to that you have a specific set of metabolism?
It was a chemistry that didn't work.
Yeah. It's like anybody
My dad,
having...
and the reason I know it, Richard, is my dad got all of the same things, except he already had type 1. So I was already susceptible, but I hadn't eaten sugar in 2 years. My blood numbers were great. Everything was fine in that regard. I didn't have any problems with my liver. I didn't have any problems with anything. And so he also got pernicious anemia. We got all the same stuff. So I know we got the same vaccination at the same time.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's math that's easy to do in your case.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you still have type 1 diabetes, or you controlled it, you sort of reversed it with?
I didn't officially reverse it, but at one point I got it to a place where through my very strong manifesting and meditation powers and my prayers, I was able to increase my insulin production and get off insulin altogether, which was like a massive feat. And then we found out about the pancreas tumor and they had to cut my pancreas. And so then there goes those insulin receptors.
Holy shit.
So then I'm back to insulin.
What symptoms did you have? Because I watched an interview you did about this, but tell me about the things that led up to you, because like a lot of people, and especially when it comes to pancreatic cancer, it's like, that is the one, that's the one you don't want of all of them.
No.
But you started to go, something's not right. I'm not feeling right. But it's almost like, similarly, like Rita Wilson, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she had been cleared by multiple doctors, like experts, saying, and they did all the tests, did all the stuff. And Rita was like, something's not right. I feel like something's not right. Yeah. And she would get tested, and they'd say, you're totally fine. And she didn't believe it. And she went to one more specialist who went, you have breast cancer. Wasn't there a symbol like you got checked out for stuff? I knew.
It's so crazy because I felt something was off, and I got an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, and
it was stomach issues and stuff, right?
I just was like bloated, and then I started having really extreme pain in my upper left quadrant. And there was a moment, someone told me, a listener from my show was like, you predicted this. And I go, what? They're like, listen to this episode. So in this episode, I'm interviewing Marianne DeMarco. She's a psychic. And she was coming on the show to teach us how to get in tune with our inner guidance. And so in the show, I was like, so basically she would say tune in. So I would tune in and I look up to the ceiling. And I'm like, I think maybe there's something wrong with my pancreas. And then, and then I continue on talking.
Did you just pick that out of thin air?
It must have come to me. We know. We always know. We gaslight ourselves. We're taught we're crazy. I diagnosed myself with a brain tumor in the moment. I just felt it. In the middle of the doctor appointment with somebody for the first time, I went in for ear pain, and he's like, what else are you feeling? I'm like, this, and this. And I go, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think I have a brain tumor like my mom. How the hell would I know that? It came to me. And so the same thing with the pancreas. I didn't believe it.
But did you recognize at that point, similarities between what you saw going on with your mom before her diagnosis?
I think I was more aware of symptoms at that moment. But when I said them out loud, I think when I got to slurred speech, which actually wasn't even connected to the brain tumor, it was just God, I think, trying to show me. I just said it. It just came out. I wasn't even thinking. Just like I said, the career, it just comes. It just comes out. And the pancreas thing came out that day in the show, but I never followed it because it was just me making an example. I didn't think what I was being downloaded was an actual download. And and it was only until I got that Prouvo scan that they found it.
Let's talk about the Prouvo scan. I also saw, I think it was on a clip from your podcast maybe, where your mission is to get scans like that covered by insurance.
Yeah.
So the Prouvo scan, for our viewers and listeners, is this head-to-toe scan that does not use radiation, which is really important. So it's a full-body MRI. So it uses magnets instead of radiation. Because usually when you get symptoms of something, or there's a suspicion or a fear that you might have something serious, the first thing a doctor wants to do is give you a CT scan. Or even worse, a PET scan. And especially depending on your age, it's blasting you with about, I think it's 7 to 10 years of radiation if you were to do an X-ray, every day like it's just massive radiation. So it's
and then
basically
gadolinium
right.
with the MRI, which I can't even take gadolinium now. I've had so much of it that it's so painful and so rough.
So the Prouvo scan came along a few years ago, and it's not covered by insurance, and it's expensive. I think when I did it, it was $4,000, I think.
Yeah, it's close to that.
So grateful that I can say, I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to have my kids do it, and Daisy can do it. And there's another scan, which I don't know if you know about it, but there's a clinic in Las Vegas that's part of the Cleveland Clinic. And it's the Lou Ruvo Center at the Cleveland Clinic in Las Vegas. They have a machine that is actually even more thorough than the Prouvo scan. So Daisy and I went and did that last year. And look, you'll weigh in on this too. There are two ways of thinking about it in the medical community. I know some doctors who I'm friendly with. On one side, they're like, do it. Absolutely do it. And the others are like, they're going to just end up giving you some false positives, and then you're going to go chasing things, and then it's going to make it worse because you're going to do all these other tests to see, and then it's going to be nothing. And I'm like, no. I'd rather chase down a possibility that turns out to be wrong than to...
But here's the thing that's going to happen anyway. So they're going to start using AI in radiology across hospitals in this country and probably throughout the world, obviously. There are going to be so many of those false positive moments anyhow.
Right.
Erase that, because I just know how many people they are saving from pancreatic cancer. There are so many people who are getting those scans that are finding out early stage 1 that they have pancreas cancer and have such a better chance at surviving because of it. That's worth it alone, because you don't feel pancreas cancer. I'm so connected to my body. It's a miracle I felt it. I knew I had pain. I kept saying, what's right here? And even doctors don't even know where your friggin' organs are sometimes. I'm like, guys, what do you mean?
Right.
You don't know what this is?
Right.
Pain here.
Yeah. What's in here? What's right under here?
And I'm looking at the body maps and stuff. And they scanned me and they said there was nothing. So they send you home and they make you think you're crazy.
This is the really, really important point. The reason that pancreatic cancer is the worst cancer to get is because the symptoms, by the time you really do have symptoms, you're usually at stage 4.
Yeah.
It's the most stealth of all cancers. Am I correct?
Moves quick. So I was scanned in November. By January, it grew to stage 2. Stage 1 to stage 2.
It had slightly metastasized.
So I don't know exactly, because I also had, there's this wonderful researcher at UCLA who I had on my show, Dr. Jewett. She has a natural killer cell program. And so she had tested my natural killer cells and told me that cancer can't survive in my body because I have such an abundance of them. And that gave me a lot of confidence, because after you get pancreas cancer, then you start panicking all the time about like every little pain. And she's like, no, Maria, your body. So I think that's why it stayed contained. It didn't spread to lymph nodes. It didn't spread to the spleen, although they took the spleen and all the lymph nodes. But I was really lucky. But it did, they said, from the time they diagnosed me to the biopsy, or from the biopsy to the surgery, that's what it was. It had accelerated. That was actually, no, so that was even in 2 weeks. Sorry. I went from biopsy to surgery. It accelerated.
Wow. And that was 2 years ago?
Yeah. And my baby was due in June.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
wow.
So that's why I always say God loves me. I'm like, thank you, God.
What was your physical aftermath initially? Did it feel kind of like you had, like you'd really been through a war, or did you feel like, oh, I'm pretty recovered and I'm kind of...
I'll show you. I never show anybody this, but I'll show you. This is horrifying.
Okay.
I'm not going to show you, but you will be able to explain.
Okay.
So I have a folder in my phone. It says reminders not to take shit. and it's visuals of all my surgeries and stuff. Okay, so
Because you've had a few.
This was brain surgery. Okay, this is my scar from brain surgery. Let's see.
How big was the tumor in your brain?
They said almost like a golf ball or whatever. This is me after pancreas surgery. I'm 117 pounds.
I was going to say you're
all bones.
So skinny.
All bones. You want to see what that does to you. And then the fibroid, I had a fibroid they took out at the same time. It was moving my rectum and my tailbone into a whole other stratosphere. That whole thing right there, that's all a fibroid. So though I didn't carry a baby, the C-section scars are there because they had to take that out too.
Looks like you had.
So they took a huge fibroid.
Looks like you had a 9-pounder.
Yeah, fibroid. They took my spleen. They took the tail of my pancreas, 17 lymph nodes. And I mean, you can't even move after all of that.
Did you get so skinny because the pain just made you couldn't eat?
I honestly don't know. Anesthesia from brain surgery, because it was a very long surgery. So brain surgery was like 8 hours, I think. I think the pancreas surgery might have been like 9 or 10. I can't remember. And I think that is the only explanation, because after brain surgery, I was super thin too. This was just like I was a skeleton.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So.
All right, well, what I want to talk about, which is shifting to
But I'm much more blessed now.
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
We're fuller now.
I really want to talk about what those experiences have taught you and how you, like, I love that you have a folder, the take no shit folder.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, because I also, the bad part about being a good girl is I didn't have any boundaries. And I also, coming from parents who weren't in the business world, I didn't know how to navigate all the politics in this business. And I'm just very upfront and honest, and that doesn't work. People don't want honesty. They don't want confrontation. I didn't know that till it was probably too late. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of kind of toxic people that I don't know why they were on my yellow brick road, but they were. I do. I think I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was being pushed out, and then I wasn't leaving easily enough. And then God threw the brain tumor at me, was like, no, bitch, we got to redirect. We're going this way.
You think that those were lessons sent from elsewhere?
Yeah, I think that God sends you these challenges to get you where you're supposed to be. And so I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I think that was like a process I had to go through, but I think that this is where I was supposed to be. I always wanted to help people. That's why I wanted to do a talk show initially. It's why I loved Oprah. She was helping people. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do things that mattered. And I think when I did news, like when I did nightly news, that was really soul feeding for me, because I felt like I was telling people stories and helping. And now with Heal Squad, I get to help people with their health and help myself with my health at the same time. And I love that. And that's why I was like ready to go to Connecticut, because I'm like, I get it. None of this shit matters. Right. Everyone's spinning plates. Ooh, sorry. Everyone's spinning their wheels and spinning plates to try to feel relevant. And
I can't believe that even for this interview, you couldn't have had me as your ringtone.
I did
today.
prime the whole ride here listening to you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me fix that, sorry.
You have to leave that in, by the way.
I gotta make sure. That's the only way I remember anything. Mom brain.
You got fucking Neil Diamond, but not me.
Wait, no, that's no, it's another song. It's a song called God Will Work It Out. So it's also my message when I forget that God will work it out, whatever tough thing is happening.
Okay. Go back to, you said none of this matters. So this has to come with age, even though, again, I keep reiterating that I'm so much older than you are. When I'm talking to people, whether it's in this format or just in social conversations, the lessons that we're taught, if you're open to receiving messages from yourself or from elsewhere or whatever, we'll talk about some of that too, but I think that the first reaction that I started to have when I started to realize some of this time that I had wasted, the things that I used to worry about, they're just habits. It's almost like everything else that you're talking about, where you just fall into it. You go, well, I guess I'll go and do that. The thought patterns and the thought processes are just natural fight or flight stuff. So you're navigating a pretty chaotic life. You had, compared to 99% of the population, you had a really chaotic life, full of lots of highs and horrible lows, like with your mom, and and everybody's got their shit, right? But I'm always sort of like, I'm always reminding myself that whenever I question, like, why am I worrying about this? Or why are we even stressing about this? I'm so aware of like every bit of time that I waste now, because I'm so aware that I have more summers behind me than in front of me at this stage of my life. And so now my decision making is based more than ever upon, is this how I want to spend whatever time I have left?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what level of that is for you, given the severity of, I don't want to say wake-up calls, but like messages with your health. And, but I also have, I hope you'll be honest with me about this question, because I think it's a valuable question and valuable answer for everyone. So in the early days of the pandemic, I won't go into the gory details because it doesn't matter. I was faced with my first ever real potential health crisis, where I felt really bad, like really horrible fevers, convulsions, chills to the point where I was convulsing, where I was thrashing. I couldn't, I knew something was really bad.
Wow.
Fever was 104.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
And went and got tested. Actually, it happened a few months before the pandemic. I was on tour when this happened. And I went in and got all these tests, infectious disease experts, and everything came back negative. It came back ultimately, after testing me for everything under the sun, as what they call a fever of unknown origin. And so it was kind of a relief to be told that something horrible was wrong, but it was really unnerving to not know what, there's something's wrong for me to be thrashing, where thinking, oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die in Montclair, New Jersey, no less. In a bed in Montclair, New Jersey. Somehow I dragged myself to the shower and got dressed and did a show that night.
With 104 fever?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I hallucinated during the
Cheers
show.
to that.
Yeah, thank you.
You made it.
I'm a pro. The show must go on.
The show must go on. Seriously, that's hard.
Months later, about a month into the pandemic, it happened again. This time, again, the test kept coming back as nothing, as like inconclusive. But my doctor, who's been my doctor since I was 18 years old, and he's a really close friend, like we play tennis together, we hang out together. And I think he's a brilliant MD, brilliant physician. He was like, dude, this, and I had a fever this time for 22 days, every day. And he was like, this is something serious. There's no way.
Yeah, there's an infection somewhere.
And the inflammation in your body is off the charts. And so he wanted me to do a PET scan and a CT scan and all this stuff. And I was like, I kept putting it off, and I kept reading about what else it could be. And I was doing my own research, and Daisy dove into, she became Dr. Google,
Yeah.
And the day before, this is true, the day before I was supposed to do this intense radiation scan, the fever went away. And so ultimately, and that was 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it never happened again.
I get these scans. I have no traceable inflammation in my body. I've made some changes, obviously, but I also, I drink, but I have a really clean diet. I don't have any added sugar in my diet. We talked about this. my fitness, I live a very healthy life, except for the occasional, But the question is, it's a long-winded premise. I remember walking up and down the beach in the weeks leading up to the test that I was supposed to do and having conversations with doctors. And I remember facing the possibility that maybe I had cancer, or maybe I had a heart issue, or that I was super mortal. And I remember all the changes that I decided I needed to make. And I was really taking stock. I was surveying, what am I doing that's maybe making myself sick in here? Are my thoughts as healthy as they can be?
What made you think about that, though?
Well, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I ran across this book from 1906 called As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah.
By James Allen. It's like way before The Secret or even we knew what manifestation was. It was just this writer who said, the quality of your life depends solely on the quality of your thinking. Mm-hmm. You can't live a healthy, happy life if your thoughts are unhealthy and shitty. And it really turned me around in a lot of ways. And so I was taking stock of all that and facing fear. And then when it all went away, I had this pretty long period of really being so consciously fucking grateful and not letting things bother me that used to bother me. And then little by little, I started to become an asshole again. And I'm begging you to tell me that even with what you've been through, that's just normal.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was having a meltdown the other day because I was having that conversation with my naturopath where I realized, oh my God, my body was rejecting LA from go and I didn't pay attention. Then I was like, Maria, you were 21. What did you know? Okay, fine. Then we had a conversation about baby formula and how they're putting all this toxic seed oils and stuff in baby formula. And I was like, well, thank God we did the research and we got the best baby formula for Athena. And then something said, check again. So as we're on the show, I go on the computer and I start looking and I'm like, they changed the formula and it has all these oils in it. And so when anything would go wrong with my mom.
Oils like seed oils?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's when I would just like lose it because I'm in charge of their health. And if I made a mistake in that category, like I just am very like, so it took a minute, like the whole day to like come down from that and be like, Maria, you did the best you could. And I have to talk to myself and I have to talk myself off the roof. And I had to call my husband and be like, I'm horrible. And what has this done to her system? And so, yeah. And then that's like almost like a bad example because.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that example, but I guess what I'm talking about is it took a while, but I now, and I'm much better than I used to be on a consistent basis, but I am still susceptible to the occasional, will this motherfucker move in front of me?
Yeah.
But the difference is that when I have those outbursts,
you catch yourself.
I catch myself and I'm like, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I picture myself, because you must have had a version of me walking up and down the beach, pondering my mortality.
Yeah.
And those walks alone or with Daisy, I put myself back there and I sort of make myself remember the fear that I had to reset myself and to like slap myself in the face.
Yeah, it's really hard. I've talked to so many people that are like, how did you keep the change? Like I went right back to the way I did. So for me, I'm pretty good at it because I also am doing this for a living, right? Like with my show,
right.
I have that accountability partner that's helping me. I also have really tried to keep my schedule in a place where I'm not going to be
stressed out,
super stressed. Like, and it happens sometimes. And then I instantly go into what can be cut because I can't live like this. I have to live for this child. And so I'm always thinking of how do I stay safe for her? So then I'll go into like, okay, what can be cut and what can I do to make things better right now? So it does happen. I mean, I definitely.
Did you have, were you generally impatient or prone to getting pissed off before, or were you always kind of chill?
What's patience?
I mean.
Yes, and very impatient. Yeah. And, like some slight road rage. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you were a normal human being.
Yeah, my dad was too, like, he would call them patata. He still is such, my dad, you gotta chill. Like, you're crazy. I'm much better now. Once in a while, I'd be like, come on, let's go. Hurry up, move.
Yeah, okay.
I'll kind of like usher them. But
I also really, as I get older, I adopt my father, who I was really, really close to. And he died when I was 33.
Oh.
But he was a very opinionated, strong, really bright, brilliant musician, and very sarcastic, great sense of humor. But he had this philosophy that he lived by, which was, I'm only going to get angry or stressed out over the things that I have some control over.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice if we could all do that?
I know, but he did it.
That's not easy.
He did it. He really did it. And that is, I think if you can give anybody a piece of advice that they can work towards, and I'm still such a failure, but I'm a less horrible failure than I was even a few years ago.
Hey, all we can do is be better.
Yeah, we just keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
What is, this is one of my favorite questions for people. What's a philosophy or belief that you held very dear in your 20s or even your 30s that you've completely abandoned, that you don't hold anymore at all?
Oh, that I've abandoned. I guess that's the opposite. I used to hate when people would be like, it'll all work out. I'm like, no, it won't. Unless I fix it and do it myself. No, it won't all work out. I was so like, now I'm like, oh, it'll all work out.
Oh, well, that is an answer.
Yeah, okay. It was kind of the opposite way, I think.
What changed that belief?
I just have started to see that it really does work out. And the things that we're stressed and worried about right now, even in one day, things resolve and get better. The worst crisis in the world gets a little better, or a little easier, or you've learned to cope a little better. It just...
I think that you have no... I mean, for the most part, most people don't have any option other than to learn to cope.
Yeah.
Like even in the worst of circumstances.
Yeah, so I've found coping tools, whether it was at Tony Robbins, life is happening for me, not to me. I stick to that. That has helped me through some of my darkest moments. Rocky has helped me through my darkest moments.
The movie?
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take. That's how winning's done. And I don't apply it in the way that I used to, because that was like, rip the IVs out, go to work, rah! Right? Go to the concert at 104. You have to love yourself a little bit more. 104?
Yeah.
No, not happening anymore.
Well, when I look back at how crazy that was and the risk that I took, I feel silly.
Yeah, but
we've
been taught.
There's also a source of pride in me that's like,
again,
I committed to something and I showed up and I did my job.
Of course. I get that and I respect that because I've done the same thing. I used to go to the Today Show with vomit bags in the couch because I was sick. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to puke on Al Roker, so I'm going to keep this close. But at some point, we have to love ourselves enough to say we matter too and our health matters. And so I use it in the way of challenges are going to keep coming.
Yeah.
And it's how quickly can you get back up and how long are you going to stay down? And then choosing wonder over worry was another big one that helped me with the pancreas cancer. Because now I had a baby on the way and I'm really facing death and I was shook. And something kicked in the day after. And I remember hearing choose wonder over worry because it was something I had learned on my show. I was like, okay, let's use this.
Can you define that?
So we're constantly worrying. I was a really good catastrophizer.
You are? You thought worst case scenario?
Always, yeah.
Were you?
Oh, yeah.
Were you glass half empty girl?
No, I'm a really positive person, but I also am very scared.
Oh, okay.
So I've lived in a lot of fear.
Are you an alarmist? Or were you?
I don't even know if I know the definition officially.
Well, I mean, I asked because it's connected to what we were talking about the way you think. Like if you think shit's going to go sideways, shit's probably
yeah,
gonna go
no, I
sideways.
don't think like that, but I'm afraid. Well, sometimes I thought the other shoe would drop. I was nervous about like when is the bottom going to fall out, I guess.
Like a sense of balance or punishment or like did you feel like when things are going so well that there has to be
Might have been a
yang to
little
the
of that.
yin?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Well, because I had always had so much trauma growing up, like my dad almost died every day. Like we were just always on pins and needles. So I've lived on pins and needles. So, it could be the greatest day ever. And I'm like, did the gate close? Is somebody going to come in? Are we going to be, taken?
What do you mean your dad almost died every day?
So he was type 1 diabetic, didn't speak the language. So he never understood fully how to handle it and take care of it. He did manual labor. And so he was taught don't eat sugar. So he didn't eat any carbs to sustain the output of energy he was putting. So his blood sugars would tank. He'd be in low blood sugar comas. We knew the fire truck people, the ambulance people. We were in the hospitals constantly praying over his body that he would come to. It was very scary. So...
Don't you think, though, that it's possible that growing up with a high level of stress and fear about your father would somehow manifest itself into physical illness?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, you can't live in fight or flight. Your body's going to
Right.
shit the bed at some point. So my
Right.
mom and I both shit the bed.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a rough way to put it. But yeah, we both went kaput at some point because we both had to be so in tune with him. And so we both had pretty good psychic abilities and we always knew. Like we would just have a knowing. It would come through, he's not okay. And we'd have to tune in to figure out where to find him.
Wow.
Because that was like before cell phones. And then cell phones came out like slowly at some point in high school. And so we would just have to go off like our spidey senses to find him.
In this conversation, you've mentioned, or when I've mentioned it, or whether it be about the power of the quality of your thinking or manifestation, or you mentioned Tony Robbins. But you've also referenced your religious faith, and I'm fascinated because usually what I hear is one or the other. And full disclosure, I guess the answer to my question I asked you about philosophy or belief that has radically changed is that up until maybe 12, 13 years ago, I believed in God, in my version of it. I was never religious. I wasn't raised religiously, but I had a sort of hardcore belief in what I perceived God to be. And that has completely shifted to not.
To not believing at all.
To not believing at all.
Wow.
So I went from what I always say, I went from being an agnostic believer to an agnostic atheist. Because we're all agnostic no matter what. No matter whether you're very religious and you believe, or you're a complete atheist, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So the true definition of agnostic is to not know. So I went from being an agnostic believer to an agnostic atheist, where I just don't believe any of that anymore.
Why? What changed?
I don't mean to be flippant, but I saw a comedian.
A comedian changed your view
He
on
did.
God?
Lewis Black. You know who Lewis Black is?
No.
He said, I understand the people who are super religious and that believe in blah, 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 but I don't because I have thoughts. And he's being flippant about it, but it's like the more I really started to think about what that belief entailed in terms of my intellect and in terms of science and in terms of all kinds of things, the more I started to go, none of that makes sense to me anymore. And this thing happened, because I think I even used to feel fearful. Like when I would know someone who was an atheist, there was something I feared about it. Like, well, if you don't believe in God, like, what do you have? What it's just chaos, right? And so when I started to acknowledge in my own mind that I didn't believe in that stuff anymore, instead of fear, I was met with relief. I was met with I was sort of fueled with this sense that if you believe that this is our journey and that when it's over, and there is no afterlife and there is none of that, instead of it being such a bummer, it's like, it's all the more reason why choose your moments wisely. I don't believe that there's another act, there's another round. The only part of that I hate is that I used to believe that I would be reunited with my father, and my mom died a few years ago. But I remember for decades having this thought that even in the worst of fear of death, that I'd be with my father, I'd see my father again. I don't believe that anymore, and it's okay for me. What I am fascinated by, as someone who's now believed in not believing for over a decade, is how someone like you mixes that into a cocktail. Because it's really kind of refreshing. I love that you still have, at least you seem to have a sense of faith that you were probably raised with, but that because a lot of people who are very religious won't even think about talking about stuff like manifestation or
really?
Because they know it's all God's plan. It's all in the hands of God.
Yeah, I think that we have
relieving
really
yourself of all responsibility.
We're powerful beings, and we were created as powerful beings. So I feel like just like you have a talent to write and sing and produce, there's that was given to you, but you also had to cultivate it. Right. So I look at manifesting as something that we're cultivating. We're getting strong with our connection. To me, it's with God and with, the universe. It does get a little weird sometimes because I studied Dr. Joe Dispenza. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, a little bit.
And so when I'm meditating, I also am blending it as like my prayer, because I believe that I'm sending the message out into the universe and out to God. And I just have watched, like every time I've prayed, I'm like, God, I'm scared. I don't know what to do with my mom next. They told me her tumor is growing. Please tell me what to do. And I would pray. And we had such an insane connection. It was almost like a lightning rod of some kind. And then I'd go, just an example, I went on my computer one day after I said that. And I'm on the computer and a pop-up comes up and it's the side effects of chemo. I'm like, oh, I know those. Vomit, blah, blah, blah. And something said, no, you don't. Look. And so I looked and I'm reading them and I'm like, oh, I didn't know all of these side effects. And then I popped up the side effects of tumor regrowth. Something told me to do that. Again, I'm just guided. Oh, these look exactly the same. So the side effects of chemo and the side effects of tumor regrowth, or the symptoms of regrowth, match. So why do we think it's the tumor when it could just be the chemo? What if we need a detoxer off of the chemo? And so that sent
poison.
That sent me down a whole other path where I took her to Mexico. And again, just somebody brought into my show. Their wife was in the green room. It was meant to be that day. And she told me about this facility. We took my mom. And my mom got 5 years with stage 4 brain cancer. And the radiologist at Cedars was like, I heavily believe that the success you guys had was due to a lot of those treatments you guys did in Mexico. And what were you doing? We were optimizing her immune system to handle what was going on. And so, but I would ask and it would come. And the same thing with my dad. Like, I was like, where is he? And like, I would hear, I would know. I would tell my mom from the time I was little, Mom, he's stuck at the other mall. He can't get to us. I would tug on her pants where everyone's worried. That was before phones. And we would find out he had a flat tire and he was at the other mall. He got confused and he went to the wrong place. And so I've just watched my own experiences, and it's like such an insane connection that I know is there for me.
It's a comfort.
100%, but it's real. And then how do you explain, like, my dad flatlined and died once. And he went to another world. And he's like, it's so beautiful. He didn't want to come back. But then he saw me crying over his bed, begging him. And he came back, he said. How do you explain Anita Morjani's story, Dying to Be Me, where she went to the other side, fully died. She saw and heard in a whole other room. She was in one hospital room, and down the hall, the doctors are talking to her husband and said, they're reading her last rites, like she's gone. And then she comes back. Like, you can't explain a lot of these phenomena.
Well, I mean, science can.
And miracles.
Science can explain some of that, most of that. And that's where you either go, oh yeah, I still don't believe that science can explain that. Or you, like me, when I go, well, but it's brainwaves that don't necessarily, or I believe the scientific explanation for those phenomenons, as opposed to, I just have way too many questions over my life that I went, oh, the answer is that I don't believe in that other stuff anymore.
Yeah. What about like the healing saint in our church, Saint Nectarios, when he lays hands on somebody, or did, and he would heal them? Is that science?
I mean, this is a different episode, separate episode.
So listen, I respect whatever anybody believes. You want to do a shot, you want to not believe in God. Everybody, you want to, throw your kid in the pool and let them learn that way. I want to do it in a ginger. Whatever anybody wants to do, I'm good with.
Yeah.
I think that we all have our journeys. For me, I know that I've seen the strongest connection that I've had, and it's helped me through every crisis with my mom, with myself, my dad. It's undeniable, and my faith has carried me through so many things. And yes, I know that God gave me powerful abilities to see things that maybe other people don't see, or access that part of our brain that can. All of us have so many powers we don't even give ourselves credit for. So, yeah.
I guess the best way I can answer what you just asked me with the belief system that I have now, or the lack of belief system I have now. And again, I'm sure people can cherry pick all day long, but generally speaking, so let's just say, and there are many examples of this. Let's say there's a bus carrying 20 kids that has a horrible accident, and everyone is killed but one child. The religious people who say that God saved that child, if I were to ask them, so he said, fuck you to the other 19, they don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And what I won't accept at this stage of my life is only God knows, or, I had somebody in my life for years who I got into this conversation because he was a very religious Christian man. And when I finally started to ask these questions, he finally one day said to me, he said, Richard, God answers every prayer. It's just that sometimes the answer is no. And I went,
Oof.
That's bullshit. You don't get me with that one. I'm sorry. Then he's an asshole. So that's when I started to shift and go, you know what? I feel better believing in science and believing in free will completely, and believing in coincidence, and not believing in divine intervention, or because I don't feel it anymore. My whole being goes, no, just don't feel it.
Yeah.
I actually envy those who feel it, because I used to feel it. And I love that people have a sense of comfort and, a go-to. I don't disparage it. The only time I disparage or really rail against it is when people want to use their religious beliefs to inform public policy, or, but
or hurt people.
Yeah, or hurt people. There's plenty of that too. But it's fascinating to me, and I love that. I particularly admire your. I use everything. I let it all influence me.
I remember when my mom was dying, we still have on the chalkboard in my house, Litsa is a miracle in progress. And I was walking both paths. I was like, oh God, come on. I know we can do this. Like I'm having so many we can do this. Let her be the example, that possibility, to believe in possibility. And I used to tell my mom, I'm like, you're a miracle. Every day, you're a miracle. You're a miracle. And I was doing all the things and healings and all the stuff. And I just was like, okay, I know we have to walk both lines because we don't know what the ending to the story is. So I am going to choose to believe that she's going to be a miracle and that she's going to get out of this bed magically, just like the other people you hear in life, these spontaneous remissions. Like, why can't she get it? But at the same time, I'm also going to walk this path of like a little bit of reality and knowing that that might not be her story, but we've already had an incredible story. Mm-hmm. So until the fat lady sings, I don't know what's going to happen. And we just kept walking and walking and walking and walking it. And then she took her last breaths on Easter. And I was like, oh, God took her on his holiest day. Like he loved her that much that he gave her. Sorry.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
He gave her like a hero's ending. Like, why else would he take her on his holiest day, So, sorry.
No, that's beautiful.
But I think you have to walk both paths.
It sounds like you don't have regret about in your relationship with your mom.
Oh my God, no.
Because I remember when we were like trying to get together a couple of times, it was like right at the end of that. What year did she pass?
2021.
Yeah. So we were in touch a little bit, and I know I watched you through some of that journey.
Yeah.
And I had a similar thing with my mom.
I did everything I could. And the biggest thing I did was I asked her for forgiveness, which was really scary and really hard because I was definitely short and mean at times.
Sure.
5 years of taking care of somebody and their brain isn't working right sometimes. And I didn't understand fully, like, the doctors don't have enough time to explain to you sometimes, like, what's happening because they're not living with you to see that they're turning on all the flames and then they're putting up the heat when it's, hot and just weird things that they're doing. So there were moments and I had to like muster up the courage to ask her for forgiveness. And I filmed it, thank God, so I can remember.
Oh, it's so great. I recorded like my last 10 conversations with my mom.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you have it forever.
I do. And there were so many great things, but there was a point where, and she had lung cancer, which is similar. We'll talk about it after, but it was very almost identical situation. She was given no time. She was stage 4, given 6 months. She lived 6 years.
Wow.
And because Daisy and I went into action against Western medicine.
Is it against or is it collaborating?
Collaborating.
I would say
collaborative. Yes. Thank you.
This is how I look at it. I'm the coach of the New England Patriots.
Okay.
I'm not putting my kicker on offense. I'm not putting my offense on defense. I know where to use everybody and in what position.
Yes.
I'm the coach.
Right.
And so that's what you do. I love my Western doctors for what they're good at, but I now know what they're not.
Well, they're most of the most brilliant oncologists, for example, had 0 training in nutrition in medical school. Yeah. So we radically changed her diet. There were some other things that we did that were just lucky accidents of things we heard about that really, really worked. Okay, or maybe.
Little help along the way.
And her oncologist would say to me, and I didn't tell him the other stuff we were doing.
You can't.
And he would just say to me, I've never seen anything like it. She's 80 years old. She got diagnosed when she was 80.
Wow.
And he said, I've never seen anything like this. Her tumors are shrinking.
Did you do marijuana oil?
Yes.
I knew it.
Yep.
That's what I did with my mom too.
One of many things.
Yeah. And Jesus.
Again, not me.
Jeez Louise.
Again, not me.
Do you want to hear the song so you know which song it is?
Sure.
It's a really beautiful song.
Bye.
I have no clue.
Was it instrumental?
No. Oh. You're going to hate it. It's about God.
Before I knew my name, before I drew a breath, He was making ways for me. Now and every day, in each and every step, He is making ways for me.
It's beautiful.
When my heart is full of doubt,
Sing it.
feels like faith is running out, I've come too far to turn around. I know.
Here it comes, Richard.
Oh,
What the frig?
what a bummer.
A second alarm.
I had
God will work it out.
I had no idea you could sing.
A little.
No, that was all in tune.
Really?
Yeah, that was actually like you can sing. Have you ever recorded?
Actually, you know what? I did a long ass time ago, but I was working on nightly news, and you can't sing and do that. But it was like a smart pop thing. It was like smart pop music. And then Lady Gaga kind of came in and was doing something similar. It was funny.
But did you write or did you just sing?
I just sang, yeah.
But
Because I was in choir and I really loved harmizing and
you
all of
clearly
that.
can sing. I can tell
Thanks.
like that.
Thanks. Shit.
Wow, you should
Well, that's
sing.
the ultimate compliment.
No, but you should record something.
Yeah.
Because your voice is beautiful. That was in tune.
Thanks.
Trust me. I would be the first to go, yeah, she's
Please
got
stop.
all kinds of gifts and talents, but
Please stop.
no, that's beautiful. And you know what? There is some amazing music and great songs in the modern Christian music world. And I've actually worked with quite a few Christian
Yeah.
artists.
My night nurse actually played it once, and I was like, I hate my alarm. It gives me like a heart attack. And it's still obviously here in this setting gave me a heart attack. But it's always a nice reminder.
Yeah. My alarm, no matter whether it's in the morning or whatever, is
Like a virgin? I'm kidding.
It's AC/DC.
Is it really?
No, it's called Adagio. It's a very famous classical piece, but played on acoustic guitar by Dominic Miller, who's one of the greatest guitarists. He plays in Sting's band.
Okay.
And he's a friend of mine. And he has the most beautiful touch on the nylon guitar. And that's what wakes me up in the morning. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I love that. I just had an inspiration. I think I'm going to change mine to Athena's giggle.
That's great too.
Her little giggle makes me crazy. So yeah,
That's
I think I'm
great
gonna
too.
change it
Unless the only downside to that, I mean, the giggle is good, but to hear your child's voice might like disturb you, like wake you, like, is she okay?
Yeah, maybe we'll see. And then I can change it back to God will work it out. I officially just shut this off because it's so annoying and my blood sugar's good, so I'm fine.
No, but it was good because we got good little sound bites out of that one. Wait, I have a couple of fun questions
Okay.
before we wrap things up.
Oh, but you were saying your mom got
yeah,
6
yeah.
years.
Yeah. So, what she said to me in one of those talks at the end, because everything worked, and you know, in the 5+ years after her diagnosis, you would never know there was anything wrong with her.
Wow.
She traveled with us all over the world. She went on tour with me. She went out to dinners with. She never lost her hair. She didn't have any of the horrible effects of chemo. She'd be tired, but never debilitated.
Was
right?
it oral chemo?
No, she couldn't do that.
Okay.
And then there just came a point where other things. It wasn't even just the cancer. She had stenosis in her spine, and she just started to give up
Weaken
and get tired. And then she stopped doing all the stuff that we had been having her do because she was just ready to be done.
Yeah.
And in her final weeks, I had these conversations with her. We were really close. We had an extraordinary relationship. Like the most honest parent-child relationship I think I've ever heard of. And at one point in the conversation, there was a pause, and she looked at me and she said, "We did it, kid." And I thought, what a gift to give me, you know? And what's really great is she didn't know whether I was recording or not. I said at some point, it's like, I might record some of our conversations, and I don't even know if she really understood it. So it wasn't like she was doing it she was doing it because it just came to her mind. And I thought, what a beautiful thing to say to your child.
That's a song.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it, kid. And you can use her.
Can we talk about social media for a second?
I hate it. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Ugh, thanks, Willow. She's right there. She does it. I hate it.
Just do this. Do you agree that if we're going to pursue the things that we're after, that it's the beast that we need to feed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Do you have any addiction to it? Do you find yourself doom scrolling? Do you find yourself first thing in the morning you're looking at one of the apps?
I refuse to look at it in the morning.
Mm-hmm. It's good practice.
Dr. Dispenza taught us that. You want a different outcome in life. You can't do the same things over and over. And so
the definition of
insanity. So I don't do it in the morning. Not gonna lie, little toilet scrolling when you're bored, and
What did we do before that?
I know.
Magazines.
Yeah.
Books.
Or like if I'm at a really long red light, maybe.
Or if the traffic on the highway is going too slow.
But I really try not to, because it's such a waste of my time. I can't say I don't fall into the trap sometimes, though I do.
Don't you feel, as I do, that had social media been around and a factor and so prominent when we were early in our careers, that it would have not been a good thing for us?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's been a good thing for really anybody. No. In fact, I was telling somebody at a breakfast meeting that I had today, that I had an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction on the beach once. And I was like, I think it wasn't as bad, even though there was 1,000 paparazzis really enjoying the moment. And it was New Year's Eve. Between the fact that it was New Year's Eve and I don't believe social media was really in existence then, or maybe it was early on, I think I got saved from people in church finding out about it.
Oh. Did you just come out of the water and your top was...
Just, no, maybe not the top. I don't know. I'm going to be ambiguous. Might have been something else.
Okay.
But, yeah.
But it was a malfunction of some kind.
It was a malfunction. And I'm there smiling, playing football with Michael Chiklis, thinking, wow, why are the paparazzi so obsessed with me today?
And no one went, hey,
No!
Wow.
No, they didn't.
Sons of bitches.
Thank God it was New Year's, and I was like, let's have a cocktail. Fuck it. I can't think about this.
We went out to dinner last night, someplace local. And when we were walking into the restaurant to meet this couple, this car yelled out something, Richard and Daisy, whatever. And it was a woman, and next to her was a guy with a camera. And Daisy and I thought, oh, they recognize us and he's taking a picture. It was a paparazzi who then camped out and shot us the entire dinner and waited 2.5 hours for us to come out. And I remember thinking, really? I mean, I'm never mean to those people. Or if I go to a place where if you go to like Craig's or some of these places that I love to go, you expect it. And I don't, I'm always like, hey guys, they're doing their thing. And they've always been kind of okay to me. They've never tried to be mean to me. But I also felt it's 2025 and this guy's sitting and like shooting me and Daisy having dinner for 2.5 hours. It was creepy. It was a little like, he was like, I love your music, man. I was like, thanks.
Yeah.
But really?
Yeah, I've seen random pictures where they're like at my dry cleaner and somehow they're like getting pictures and I've never even seen them.
Yeah, well, that happens
and
a lot.
I've got pretty good hawk eyes, but like...
I have the worst. Daisy's like, she spots it immediately.
Oh, I remember seeing a celebrity in their car on the opposite side of the 405. And I was like, oh, like I see, but I mean,
Right.
That's weird. Yeah, sometimes they catch you.
Okay, so a couple of fun questions. I love this. I haven't really thought about this myself. Describe a perfect day for you in your life.
Ooh. A perfect day. I had a really nice day yesterday. Went to Malibu, had breakfast with my baby and a friend of mine and her baby. Then we went to the park and we played on the slides, did a little shopping, then decided, it's time to eat again. Had a little lunch at Taverna Tony's.
That's fun.
Delicious
Except he's not there
bread.
anymore.
I know, but the bread is.
The bread is so good.
That is the greatest bread
It's so good.
in the world, and they will not tell you where they get it.
Let's keep
Because
you
they
coming
get
back.
it cheap and they don't want to become popular, apparently. So anyway, that was a
Taverna
perfect
Tony
day.
is an establishment in the Los Angeles area. We won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really yummy.
But it's really good.
But yeah, a perfect day for me is like when I get to peacefully live it. I can wake up. I have a pretty solid routine. I wake up and I play with Athena and squish her and giggle with her. And then we'll get our sunrise. And then we'll do some
Oh yeah, I
fascia
saw that.
release stuff.
You're up crack of dawn no matter what,
every
right?
day, no matter what.
Because that's you want that first morning sun.
The most healing sun.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's also setting your circadian clock. So
So do you go to bed early?
Yep.
Do you have a
Like
sleep
9 o'clock
regimen?
was late last night.
No way, really?
Oh yeah.
So you don't ever go out to dinner with anybody unless it's like the early bird
I do
special?
5:30 dinners.
Because you're 100 years old.
Yeah, 5:30. But I started this years ago on Live with Kelly. I was talking about how I do early dinners and everyone made fun of me and now everyone's asking for the early dinner. Anyway,
Not everyone.
I guess not. But
I had dinner a few years ago with Sean Hayes, who I know for years. And he and his husband, Scotty, are just really cool. You must have
I
met
don't
him
know
or-
his husband, but I've met Sean.
Yeah. So we hadn't seen each other in a while. And I guess it was Daisy was away because it was just me. And so we made a plan for dinner and he said, can we meet? It was at this restaurant in West Hollywood. And he said, can we meet at 6? And I went, who the fuck eats at 6? Dinner at 6 o'clock. He said, really? Can we go? Okay, well, 6:15. And I was like, oh, God. So I was like, okay, well, it's 2 of them and 1 of me. So I was like, okay.
It's amazing. You get home early. You're in bed. It feels
But here's the best part.
great.
So I get to the restaurant.
And you live far away, so
there's-
it's nice.
So I lived kind of closer.
Oh, okay.
Then. So I walk in and there's
Nobody.
no one in this place.
It's amazing.
It was, I'll tell you where it was. It was Sunset Tower, the Tower Bar at Sunset Towers.
Oh, well,
on
that one
Sunset.
you want to go when there's people.
Right. And he knew that's where we were going. He was like 6:15. So I walk up and I don't even have to ask the host. There's not even a host. It's just the place is empty,
I'm
right?
dead.
So the best part is they are sitting at a table in the very back and I come around and I look and there's no one else in the restaurant. And as I get halfway to them, Sean goes, Richard, over here. We're over here.
Yeah. I love an
'Cause
early
he's that
dinner.
funny.
It's not that I won't do a later dinner, but I really try to make
But
them
is
early.
that a result of you like addicted to that early morning that
It's
you can't do
also
both?
for your circadian clock, you should be up at sunrise and you should be eating before sunset. So you need to eat within an hour of sunrise. So
And be
sunrise
done
right now,
eating before
and then
sunset.
you have to be done eating before sunset. And technically, you should not be getting any blue light after sunset because it's
Mm-hmm.
bad information. So it's confusing your clock and your body. That light tells us that it's noon right now, and it's, well, I shut my phone off, but I
Right.
think it's around 3:40.
It's 3:30.
Okay, 3:30. And so that'll tell us it's noon, which screws up our melatonin production because if we don't get the cue, the information from the sun tells us what time it is through the UV receptors in our retinas. And then it goes in and says, hey, Maria, it's 3:30. You better start producing melatonin. No wonder everyone has sleep issues.
You just made all that shit up just now.
Swear to God, it's true.
This is why you host Heal Squad.
Yeah.
Damn, that was impressive.
Thank you.
Wow.
So I call it human synthesis.
But I'm a night guy. I do shows I go on stage at 8 o'clock.
I know. But in your off time, to live the most optimal, healthy life, it would be better for you to do what I'm saying.
What time do I have to stop drinking martinis?
Whatever sunset is.
I'll get back to you on this.
Yeah.
All right, here's another question. We're coming to the end, but these are things I've been dying to ask you.
Okay.
If you had to write a letter today to yourself 10 years from now, what would the basis of the letter be? What would you tell yourself?
Calm the fuck down. It's all going to work out. I was so lacking control that I was trying to be a control freak about everything.
No. If you wrote a letter now
Yeah.
that you're going to read in 10 years,
Oh, wait.
I want you to write a letter
Today that I'm
to
going to read
you
10 years later?
10 10 years from now, Maria.
Oh, people always say the opposite.
I know,
So
that's why I'm
Isn't that
asking
funny?
this
I
question.
programmed myself to just
Yes.
believe I knew the question. 10 years from now. Oh, that's... First of all, I hope you're here reading this because that means that you are with Athena and now she's 12 and she's going to really need you in these teen years. So saddle up. I've never been at a loss for words. I have no fucking clue.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, because what do you tell your future self?
That's why I want to know. That's what I'm going to work on. I think I would tell myself...
Because it's always about reflecting. It's never about...
It's reflecting. But that's why when even pondering this question fuels intention for me. Like if I were forced to write that letter, I have to write about what I would hope the next 10 years look like.
Yeah.
So I go, hey, dear Dick, I hope you've been less of a dick.
I'm dead.
Especially to yourself, because I tend to be kind of mean to myself sometimes. Yeah. And when I think about the next 10 years, first of all, I think the first thing I would hope to write to myself is, congratulations on being a very different person than you were 10 years ago. Because I don't want to be the same.
There's no way you can be unless you really
many people are.
Don't change at all.
Many people are the same,
yeah.
Decade after decade after decade, in their ideology, in their habits. I hope that because I'm a very different person than I was 10 years ago. So I hope I'm a very different person in 10 years. And the journey that I'm on with Daisy, because we are so, like, I get a sense that you and Kevin, similar, like, when you have your person, when you have your partner, in those fundamental ways, you have to be like-minded.
Yeah.
You have to cheer each other on. And you have to, sometimes she has to pull me along and sometimes I have to pull her along. But in 10 years, I want that letter to be read like, well done, you did what you intended to do. You've had way more fun.
What do you intend to do in these next 10 years? Have you thought about it?
Less. That's the best way I can put it. I want to do less. I want to be more still. I have a lifelong habit of achieving and accomplishing. And part of that is, when you write songs, that's a mechanism that never really goes away, I don't think. It's like flossing. I write something every day. Whether I turn it into something that goes out into the world is a different story. But I would love to just be. I can do that, but in really limited quantities. And I would love to be 71 and just be kind of like going, I'm just having the best fucking time.
On the rocking chair on the porch.
Maybe not in a rocking chair on a porch.
Like, I was dreaming of that after brain surgery. I'm
okay.
I just want to be on that rocking chair on a porch, just feeling the breeze.
I have a similar one. Mine is on a beach, hearing the waves and being outside and being near the water. And yeah, similar, just not specific. Okay.
But is that enough?
That's the point, is that is enough. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like so many of the people I know are like me in that no matter how grateful we are for our success and what we've accomplished, there's all this, I still need to do this, I still really want to do it. And I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. But to be driven by ambition at this stage of my life, I know this, that if I am lucky enough to live to be 80, okay, I am not going to look back on my life and be like, I'm so glad I worked all those days.
But how come nobody knows that? Like, I watch people who are psychotically ambitious still, and I'm like, and they've got so much.
I know.
Like a billion much. And I'm like, why do they care so much still?
Yeah.
And it's not like it's philanthropy. Like, yes, they have philanthropic stuff too, but like, what makes people still like want it and need it that much because I'm not in that boat.
Yeah.
I just want to work enough to maintain a lifestyle where
Right.
I can travel the way I want to travel and take care of the people I want to take care of and raise my baby. But I don't want to work an ounce harder than I have to.
Great. And that's the manifestation part. That's when you picture that life. When you picture living your life in a certain way, that's the only way to achieve that, is to see it, because that creates the path to that. And when Daisy met me, I was just so, I couldn't relax. She taught me how to just sit on a beach. And it's my favorite thing in the world, is to just be, and to have no plan for the day, except to just be. And it's still a struggle for me, but it's much less of a struggle for me than it was 10 years ago. So my hope is that in 10 years, it's my default position.
I like that.
Okay, lastly,
Okay.
so I always give a gift on this show. And it's a very specific gift. Hang on, don't, just because you might. But first, a couple questions.
Okay.
What was your first concert?
Well, I cleaned up after all of them.
It's true. God.
I think I might be your first guest. I could say that too. I cleaned everybody's vomit after all of them.
Who was the first audience vomit you cleaned up?
Oh, I mean, so I was 5 years old. I wouldn't even remember.
Did you get to see the shows?
No, I just cleaned the aftermath.
So who was the first concert what's the first concert you ever saw that you went, I'm going to this concert?
I then interviewed people. Like I went with the Stones on tour and was a roadie for a day. So I think...
That's badass.
Yeah, so like I saw people through the show. Like I saw Bon Jovi after an interview. So before work, I was too poor. And then I was cleaning. And then when I came, into my success, I was too busy.
But in high school, you never went with a girlfriend or your friends to a concert?
We didn't have money to do that. No. And I wasn't allowed either.
All right.
So even if there was a
Okay,
chance.
so come on.
But I
answer my
think it was
question.
Madonna was my very first one.
Oh,
that
that's good.
My friend in LA took me to, because she was in town, and I was like, okay, I have to go to a concert. I've never been to one. It was like the Patriots. I'd never been to a regular game. I sold sausages outside of the games in the winter. And when Giselle heard it, she goes, oh, no, you have to come. You got to be our guest. You're coming to our suite. And I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
But I think it was Madonna.
Okay.
For my official first.
Okay. Do you remember your official first record you ever bought with your own money?
Never did.
Never have.
No.
You were one of those illegal downloaders.
No. No, I did the first interview with Lars Ulrich about Napster back in the day.
Oh, wow. So yeah, you don't have...
No, like there were friends who made mixtapes. I just listened to the radio.
Did boys give you mixtapes?
No, my dad told them that he had a gun and he would use it. So no one called me. They tried in the beginning of high school. And
How did Kevin get around that?
I met Kevin when I was 18 and in college. Didn't live at home.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to, so...
I'm the worst story for this one.
And I don't expect everybody to have the ability to actually use this gift.
Okay. But
it's just something that I think is cool. So I give a gift of vinyl.
Ooh, okay.
So the last question of our chat is, I can't imagine you would know this, but although you're a pretty detailed, like you're an info girl.
Okay.
Do you happen to know what the #1 album was on the day you were born?
June 8th, 1978. No, but 78? I mean, was that like... I have no clue.
Okay. Well, my first thought was I did some research and I was going to get you a piece of vinyl by like one of the great Greek artists of the time.
Uh-huh.
And the only place, when I had this idea, it was like 5 days ago, there was no way to get it in time.
Okay.
I found some shit on eBay, but it would have
Was it like Maria Callas or something?
Maria Callas, or I couldn't find anything to get.
Okay.
So I went next best thing, which was...
You're going to sing me a Greek song?
No, I don't know how to do that. I would if I knew one. You can teach me.
Okay.
The #1 album on the day you were born is so cool It's the soundtrack. No, not that one. It's the soundtrack. It's a Saturday Night Fever.
No way! Staying alive.
Yes.
Let's go.
Not
Wait,
just staying alive. Yes, staying alive.
I'm staying alive.
Look what we did.
That's hilarious.
Look at
Oh my
this.
God.
Staying alive. How deep is your love? If I can't have you. Da 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 da. Jive talking. Night Fever. More than a woman.
I am more than a woman.
You are. You
Damn
should
it.
be dancing.
Wow.
And if anybody is staying alive, it's Maria Menounos.
How perfect is that? What a great way to close out. Thank you
I'm so happy
much.
about that. Because I thought, when I saw, I was like, chat GPT'd that shit. And I was like thinking, what if it's some horrible, but that's cool.
I love it. I actually have a player. Vin Diesel gave me one for some gift I got. And so I can play this too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers to
Cheers.
Cheers to life
Staying
and cheers to
alive.
all of that. And
Thank
it was
you.
such a pleasure.
Thank you.